Do you constantly find yourself worrying, reminiscing, or always stuck in the past? If that sounds like you, well, I got the perfect solution for you, my boy. We're gonna talk about something called revision. Revision is the act of changing a past situation or experience in your life via the use of your mind. And you can revise things simply by using affirmations. And my favorite way to do this is saying something has always been a certain way. And I want y'all to test this out. So let's say, for example, you have parents in your life who are strict or mean or, they don't love you properly. You would revise something like this by telling yourself, AKA affirming, repeating over and over again things such as, my parents have always been super nice. My parents have always been loving and affectionate towards me. My parents have always made me feel loved. I think y'all get the gist at this point, but test it out, come back in a week or two, and let me know what happens, man.
Literally my favorite manifestation technique right now. It's called revision. Concept of revision is to change a past event through your imagination. 1, get relaxed. Take like 10 to 20 deep breaths and just get in a relaxed state of mind. 2, bring forward to your mind's eye, your imagination, the event that you would like to change. Can't see it, just hear it. 3, imagine this event went exactly the way you wanted it to. 4, make the scene as vivid as possible. What do you see? What do you hear? What do you smell? What do you taste? What do you feel? Add your 5 senses. 5, loop it until it feels like a memory, until it feels like that should actually happen.
The past has no power except the one you continue to narrate. Memory is not truth, it is selection. Every time you retell an old story, you resurrect the state that created it. And then you wonder why it keeps reappearing. You do not need to heal the past. You need to outgrow it. Revision is not denial. It is correction. Change the meaning of what was, and you change what is. The subconscious does not know chronology. It knows only feeling. Rewrite the feeling, and the future must change. Drop the identity that suffered. Assume the identity that learned. Because the past has no power, except the one you continue to narrate. Now here is the secret. If you will revise your day as you want it to have been, then live in that revision as though it were true, you will have modified your past. And the effect of that modification will change your future. So let us say that something in the course of your day was not what you wanted it to be. It didn't go according to your plan. At the end of the day, as you lie down to sleep, you simply go over that event in your mind and revise it. Revise it to be what you wish it had been. And fall asleep in that state, feeling as though it is done. As you do this, you change your state of being. And by changing your state, you change your world.
Any tips on how to use it? This is a question I just got on a video I did about how revision works, revising the past and how miraculous it can be. When you fully revise it, the other person doesn't remember what the fuck happened. It's really crazy. Just try it. So I'll explain to you how Neville Goddard explained revision. Basically, every memory you have of the past is a memory. You can't go back to it in a DeLorean, like Back to the Future style, to the actual event and see everyone there and relive it. It's a reliving that everyone in the experience of the event has in their own memory, and each person has a different memory of that event. Therefore, if you change your memory in your reality, then everyone in your reality simply remembers it differently, just like you do, as you reflect out your thought and they then reflect it. So if your thought now is new of that revision time, that event, then everyone in your reality also reflects that back to you, their new memory of your memory. Does that make sense? So what you do is you go back to it in your mind, to the memory of that event, and you change it. to what you wish was said, heard, done, experienced. So if someone broke up with you and said, look, I just can't do this anymore, I don't love you, I've got to move on, you change it. So it could be something like this where they say, I can't do this anymore, us only seeing each other a few times a week, I want you to move in with me. And you go, oh, beautiful, I'd love to, yay! And you change the event to a bad event to a good event, okay? And then what you do is you loop that little memory in your mind over and over and over again until it feels like that was real. Yeah, that's what happened. A sense of naturalness, Neville Goddard calls it. Natural. That's really what happened. And then if you ever think of it again, the old memory, you go back and you change it again to the new memory of that memory. That's what revision is. You can also change what you saw, what you experienced. If it's a traumatic event, say abuse or something, you can remember it differently by not necessarily going straight back to the event, because that might be traumatizing again to relive it. You can go back to just before the event occurred. So say someone was coming to your bedroom, okay? You can imagine hearing a knock on the door and then someone taking them away, like a parent or a policeman coming and taking them away, and the event didn't occur, okay? But that can be hard to relive a traumatic event, so be careful with that, okay? Go back to before the event happened. If you're going to relive trauma in any way, I don't recommend it. So that's revision, guys. You revise the memory in your mind to what you wish you'd experienced, loop it over and over again, and then get a sense of naturalness in your mind that that's what happened, and watch the results. I do it all the time, and it always works, okay?
Can we please normalize that revision is just the same thing as normal manifestation? If you can manifest forwards with normal manifestation, then why can't you manifest backwards? It makes no sense to me why revision is so scandalous in this community. Yeah, this is a prime example of how people will teach from their current level of consciousness. And if someone thinks it's scandalous, then in my opinion, they don't understand that we're working with infinite intelligence. We're working with infinite potential, unlimited versions of self, and you are the operant power. So why would anything be scandalous? Any health manifestations, personally, I've utilized revision. I've revised what the doctor has said. I've revised any symptoms, gone. That is how I do this work. I love revision. Revision is so fucking fun. And look, let's be real. In my personality, if I'm told that something's like no, I'm like, ooh, tell me more. So if you're like me and a little bit like intrigued by naughty things, that revision is naughty, oh my God, no, don't do revision. It's ridiculous. Revision is your get out of free jail card. You do something you don't like, revise. That's why you can't fuck this up. If Neville thought you can truly fuck up your manifestation, then why would he teach revision? Okay? So if you like a bit of scandal, then start utilizing revision every once in a while.
How do you actually successfully revise them? Revision has become very quickly one of my favorite techniques, and I'm going to tell you why, because it's just mind-blowing when I understood what it was. I'm going to explain a little bit about what it is and then how to actually apply. The reason I got into revision was because I heard a quote from Neville Goddard, and he said, if you could forget, something along the lines of, if you could forget all my teachings and just remember revision, that would be enough to transform your life. And I was like, oh boy, I'm sorry, sir, what? I was instantly intrigued. So I'm like, okay, because I never was really into revision. I didn't quite get what it really was doing, I guess. What's really happening here, what revision really is everything is right now. We don't have a past, it's gone, it's over, it's done, we only have the memory of it. The future is not created yet, we only have now. Because we only have right now, we're just carrying everything we've ever experienced, all the memories, all that, which has formed our current assumptions, and we're bringing it all into right now. Because we're creating right now on a moment-to-moment basis, that means we're just recreating the past based on past memories and events over and over and over again. Here's where revision comes in. Because those memories are gone, they're done, they're over, they only exist up here, then we have the power to change them. Then we don't create them in the present moment anymore. This kind of ties into quantum physics because infinite realities exist. So if we go back, we're basically choosing a timeline where that's what happened instead. There's a few different ways you can apply revision. Number one is what Neville Goddard talks about. I personally don't do this one that much, but it's when you lay down at the end of the day and you visualize your day from start to finish. You just go through your whole day again, but the way you would have wanted it to go. You would lay down and you would picture your day from start to finish. You wake up, have your coffee, get ready. But let's say you go to work and your boss was like super rude to you or something, or like you got in trouble. So at that point of when you're revising your day, when you're going through your day, when you got there, you would imagine instead how you would have wanted that to play out instead. In fact, your boss came up to you and told you, you did the most amazing job ever. Oh my God, you killed it. Actually, here's a raise. This applies to everything, I should note. Like, I've done this with my weight so many times and it like actually works, which is crazy. That's not what we are taught, is it? I've applied this to people. I've applied this to like so many things and it blows my mind every time. Way number 2, this is the first way I ever applied it, is if you have a specific memory that you don't like, and you can go as far back as you want. You can do this from childhood. Missy Renee on YouTube talks a lot about how she transformed her whole life by revising childhood memories of fights with her SP and stuff like that. She like completely recreated him and her whole family and all that using revision. But if there's certain events that you believe created your current assumption that you have right now, whether it's like I'm unlovable, no one wants to be with me, whatever, or even a story of like a person or something, like I just think that this person hates me because of this one event. Revise that event. Imagine it going the way you would have wanted it to go instead. And you can also affirm this. You can say, oh, this is what happened instead. You can also write it out if you don't want to visualize it. If you're not a good visualizer, you don't like to do that. You can also, I've had clients ask ChatGPT to like write them out a scene that would imply what they wanted instead, and they just read that, and that's helped them a lot. The other ways you can do this is you can say, oh, it's always been this way. Like I've done this before with somebody where I was like, oh, they've always been this way, and they 188 like on the spot. It was like the weirdest day. Like when I interact with them that same day, they were completely different. I also did this, like I said, with the actual event of somebody I didn't like that happened with them, and she was a completely different person. It was the weirdest thing ever. It was because I chose a reality where that's really what happened, right? Like that was the case, is it played out the way I wanted it to. So then I experienced that new version of her where, you know, if that scene had really happened the way I would have wanted it to, this is how she'd be now, and be kind, loving, sweet, and that's what I experience from her because I changed the memory. Another thing you can do is say this never happened, where you can be like, I did this with being cheated on. I was so afraid of like bringing the fear of being cheated on because I had in past relationships. I was afraid of bringing it into my new relationship with Mike. So I just was like, what if I had never been cheated on? How would I feel? I didn't actually know I was revising at the time, but looking back, it's totally what I did, because it was basically, I looked at it like, okay, yeah, if I'd never been cheated on, I wouldn't worry at all. I had nothing to worry about. And I just never brought that fear again. We were just talking about this. I was like, Mike, you helped me. Like, manifesting you helped me clear that story out completely. It's something that never crosses my mind because I'm so solid in that story now. Like I'm just somebody who only experiences loyal and faithful, loving relationships. Those are a few different ways you can do it. You can also revise on the spot, where you go, like if something just happened I didn't like, I'd be like, no, this is what happened instead. And I would just assume that what I wanted happened instead. I did this with my weight. Like I said, if I stepped on the scale and I didn't see what I liked, I didn't like the number, basically, I just assumed that it was like the number I wanted. I'd be like, oh my God, I weigh this, cool. And I would just move on. Or somebody said something to me I didn't like, I just assumed they said the opposite, and they, boom, would of course prove that true to me by bringing it up again and either changing their mind or like being like, what do you mean? I don't remember saying that. And like completely just like changing their mind on whatever it was that they said, which is weird. But in my opinion, the key is to actually assume that's really what happened. The times that I've had the biggest success with the revision is when I assume that what the revised memory that I wanted to happen is what really happened. And I witnessed amazing, crazy, just wild, mind-blowing changes that just blows reality out of the water of just like how we've been taught. And it's just not what we've been taught. I think where people slip up with this is that they don't actually assume that that's what really happened, or they kind of will just like pretend like, okay, well, yeah, I guess I'll just visualize what I would have wanted to happen instead. That would have been nice, but then they're still very aware, but like I know the original scene's what really happened, and they're still very much under the assumption that the original memory is still what happened, and then they're in the reality where that original thing is what happened. I think that's where people slip up and where revision doesn't work for them. I want to clarify, you don't have to revise. I've just found it extremely helpful when there's specific things that like memories or events that cause me to have a certain story of something or someone. Revision has completely helped me with. It's helped me like shift my mood like that, which is awesome. If you haven't, I would try it out because I actually just love revision. Like when I tried it for the first time consciously, I had done it, like I said, I had done it like a little bit, I think on accident. I didn't really realize what I was doing, but like when I really like learned about it, I guess last year, and applied it, I was mind blown. Like I was just like, this is amazing. Like I have to tell everyone about this. So try it out if you haven't. One of the most useful techniques in law of assumption, and also one of the most underrated in my opinion, is revising on the spot. And I understood why revision worked so well and what it was. It's like mind blowing, guys, because the first time I tried revision ever was on something I was like upset about for like a year and a half, honestly. And when I revised it and this person switched up on me, did a 180 on the spot, like same day, I was like, oh my God, girl, Kayla, you were the one bringing it into each moment, day after day after day for that year and a half. It had nothing to do with the other person. So I took it a step further where I was like, well, we can revise on the spot too. So the reason revision works is because everything is now, okay? So because everything is now, that thing that you're mad about that happened however long ago, even if it happened 2 seconds ago, it's gone, it's over, it's done. The only reason it still exists right now in the present is because you have a memory of it. You're bringing bringing that memory of it into each moment over and over and over again, creating this thing over and over and over again in the present moment when really it's gone, it's done. So because it only exists in your memory, and that event is over, you can bring up that memory and rewrite it the way you would have wanted it to happen. So the reason I started doing this on the spot is because I realized people would get upset on something that like popped up in their 3D, like a circumstance or something somebody said, and we go, oh my God, now that that happened, that means blank, right? We place a meaning and value on it, and then we experience that meaning and value that we placed on it. We make it into a bigger and bigger and bigger issue. And really, we could have caught it before we spiraled into a whole bigger problem, right? So basically the way that this looks is if something pops up in your 3D, you're like, no, either no, this is what's happening instead. Like you can redirect it, or you can go, oh no, this actually happened instead. For example, if somebody tells me something I don't like, I will like rewrite it in my head and I'll be like, oh, they actually said this. And I'll just literally imagine that like I'm in a reality where they actually said what I wanted them to say to me. Watch them switch up their energy so quick. Just try it. For example, I remember this one person told me one time that she didn't have any time for an appointment for me. And I was like, oh my God, she has an appointment time. Like, let me open my calendar. She's like, oh wait, there's one right here. It works. I do it with things like if you get like an email you don't like or a text you don't like, imagine you got the text you wanted instead. Imagine that person said what you wanted them to say instead. You can do this with weight. I remember when I was losing weight, if I stepped on the scale and I didn't like the number I saw, I would literally just imagine that I didn't. Like I would revise it and I'd be like, oh my God, I'm this weight. It would literally work. Like it literally worked. You can use this with like anything, honestly. And it's funny because people get super mad. They're like, you're gaslighting yourself. This is lying to yourself. Newsflash, baby. You're always lying to yourself, because what's happening is like the future's not created yet. You only have the present moment. So either way, you're just creating the present moment with whatever you're bringing into the present moment. So why would you keep on bringing an old memory that doesn't exist, that doesn't make you happy, and keep on creating new things from that memory that you don't like? You could just instead be like, no, this is what's happening instead. And you're not just lying to yourself, you're actually moving to a reality where that's the case, right? Every reality already exists. Quantum physics tells us this, every possibility already exists. So all you're doing by revising is just moving to the reality you would have wanted to experience instead of being realistic. Oh my gosh, we have to be realistic, guys, right? Bringing the story you don't want into each moment instead. Like why? Why are you choosing to make yourself miserable? And I urge you to just try it, because when I first heard about revision, I was like, this is BS. Like, I don't really, that's weird, not for me, whatever. Like the second I tried it, I'm telling you, it was mind blowing. So I urge you to at least try it, even if it's with something like small, aka you don't really care that much about it, just try it. Guys, when I tell you you are sleeping on revision, I'm telling you, you are sleeping on revision. It is freaking amazing. You can apply it to anything. Like I've applied it to so many things. So I want to give you some examples. This person is asking about weight loss. Yes, you can definitely apply it to weight loss. I actually did this when I was on my last weight loss journey, last summer-ish, fall-ish. If I stepped on the scale and I didn't like what I saw, I would literally get off the scale, pretend like in my mind I just stepped on it and it said exactly what I wanted. And I go, oh my God, yes, I lost this weight. Every single time I did that, guess what was on the scale the next time I weighed myself? Yeah, a number lower than what I had revised stepping on the scale as. So that doesn't make any sense, like logically, right? Logically, I should just weigh, probably whatever I had revised the number to be. But no, it was lower because in my head I was like, no, I'm not accepting that as an answer. This is what I weighed. Before I say this part, I am not saying you have to have these things to be attractive or pretty. I'm just saying this is my personal body preferences are what I was manifesting. Okay, just had to clarify before I filmed this part. I also did this for how my body looked. So if I looked in the mirror and I noticed, like I told you guys, I really wanted a thigh gap. It's funny because it's something I've always wanted. Like I just would see other girls having that growing up, I guess. And I was always like, oh, I just don't have the right body for that. I just have thick thighs because I'm Italian. Like, no girl, you can have whatever you want, I'm telling you. So I remember when I was losing weight, I saw that my thighs were still slightly touching, and I literally went to bed and I just like imagined that they weren't when I looked in the mirror, and I was like, yes, I have a thigh gap. Literally woke up with a thigh gap. It was so weird. I did this another time when I noticed like my hip dips, I guess, on the sides of my hip. Basically, I was changing and I was getting ready to take a bath, and I saw them in the mirror and I was like, no. And I got in the bath and I just imagined that I had just looked in the mirror before I got in the bath and did not see them. Tell me, my mind, oh my God, you guys, revision blows my mind. Tell me why I look in the mirror when I get out of the bath and there's nothing there. Nothing. It was completely smooth and flat, and I was like, I also did this before I changed my belief system about food. So now I feel like I can eat whatever, and I'm just like, I have this story of I can eat whatever and I'm still thin because I'm just a thin person. That's what I've identified as now, and that's like my new identity. So I don't really have that story about food. But before I had changed that, whenever I ate a lot and I'd be like, oh crap, I'm gonna gain weight, I would literally like revise that I didn't actually eat the food and I just ate like healthy stuff or something, like vegetables or something. I also did this, okay, this one's low-key embarrassing, but maybe it'll help somebody. I did this one time when I woke up slightly hungover, not gonna lie. And I was like, oh crap, like I have a headache, ugh. And I literally laid down right when I woke up, and I just imagined that I had chosen not to drink the night before. I was like, oh, I'm a sober girly tonight, guys. I'm just gonna drink water. Literally oh my God, no hangover. It was like instantaneous. It was the weirdest, I'm telling you, the weirdest thing ever. The weirdest thing ever. There was no hangover, no headache, no nothing. So when I say you can apply this to anything, I'm telling you, you can apply this to anything. It's mind blowing. I would just try it, guys. Just try it. I'm not forcing you. I'm just giving you a tip. Revision is freaking crazy. It's mind blowing, and it will, if it's done correctly, it will mess with the way that you thought that you viewed reality. Guys, revision has to be like one of my favorite techniques for manifestation, hands down, because it freaks me out to this day. No matter how many times I've seen it work, it freaks me out and it blows my mind every single time. So how do you actually make it work? So I'm going to explain kind of how to do it and then the mistakes I see people make when it comes to revision so I can help you so you don't make the same ones, okay? I honestly slept on it for a while first. I was kind of like, that doesn't make sense. Like in my head, I was like, well, but it really happened, so why would I just pretend like it didn't? And I didn't really understand what it was. So what revision is basically, and the reason it works is basically because whatever you're worried about from the past is completely done. It's over, it's gone, it's been done, but we are the ones bringing it into each moment. How are we doing that if it doesn't exist anymore? Because it only exists in your mind. The only way it has any life is because your memory of it still exists. So basically, we're bringing that memory into each moment, and then we're assigning that memory a meaning. And then because we're creating everything now, we only have right now, we're basically creating that story over and over again and bringing it into the present moment, keeping it alive, okay? So for example, let's say somebody said something to you. Well, I'll give you an example from my own life. I had a conversation with somebody and I didn't like, and that conversation had ended years ago, and I was still bringing it into each moment, and I was like, oh, because of that conversation, that means this person is like this, and I just kept that story alive doing that. I think I got into it because there was like a Neville Goddard quote that I saw where he said, you can forget all of my teachings, but just remember revision. And I was like, something along those lines, right? And I was like, what? Like in my head, I was like, that's so crazy. Like that must have been something that's very powerful for him then, for him to say that, right? There's a few different types of revision, but this is the one I did. I basically went back in my mind when I was going to sleep, and I visualized that whole day that conversation had happened, but I imagined the conversation the way I would have wanted it to go, and I just kept looping it over and over again. And I didn't think anything of it, honestly. I was kind of like, I woke up the next day, I'm like, yeah, but all this stuff happened after, like, that doesn't make sense. But I woke up from a text from that person, so I was like, okay, it's like, clearly it did something, right? So I did it again the next night, same thing. Looped the way I would have wanted it to go. And I'm telling you, it completely changed this person. And it almost, when I woke up the next day, it felt like that conversation felt blurry, like it didn't really happen or something. It was really weird. I couldn't really, to this day, I don't really remember the details of it very well. And that other person, actually, there's been a few times where they actually don't remember some of the details either. So it was very weird. And then I had tried it with different things after that too, and it was weird. Every single time the other people didn't remember really what had happened in the conversation, or it would just play out in a way where that whole situation was resolved. And so why did this work? It worked because I was basically looking at, okay, why do I have this story of this person or this thing is what you want to look at. What memories do I have that caused this? And you want to clear them at the root. So if you change that memory in your mind, you're not bringing it into the moment anymore, to each moment, and you're not creating it anymore. It changes. Basically, you can do this in a few different ways. Neville's favorite was he would lay down at night and he would imagine anything, his whole day from start to finish, I believe, but he would imagine anything he didn't like as he would have wanted it to go instead, okay? You can do it that way. One, you can do it the way I just mentioned, which was basically like a certain situation or event that you didn't like, imagining how you would have wanted it to go. The other ones are just like revising on the spot. Sometimes I'll do that. If someone's like, oh yeah, like if I call to make a reservation, oh yeah, we don't have time for you. I'm like, you do. And I'll just be like, oh, they said they had time for me in my head or something. I'll just assume they did. And then they'll be like, oh wait, a spot popped up. You can do it like that. You can say, oh, this never happened, or this person's always been this way. So you can say, oh, this person's always been nice. This person's always been so great to me. Oh yeah, they've never been like that or something, and just let it go. And it works. Where people trip up with revision is they'll go in and they'll like kind of imagine what they wanted to happen instead, but then they go each day like, okay, I imagined it differently, but you're still like assuming dominantly that what really happened though, but I know deep down what really happened is the previous memory. When I have revised things, I went all in with it, where I literally, there's infinite realities that exist, right? And we're simply like choosing which reality we want to be in. Well, there's a reality where that really didn't happen, where it really played out the way you wanted it to. And so I was basically like thinking of it like I'm selecting the reality where that's really what happened, not the old story. And it was so crazy, where like that's why people don't remember certain things that happen sometimes when you revise them. Sometimes they did, but they like undid the situation almost. But yeah, basically I looked at it like I was going all in, like I was selecting the reality where that really didn't happen, or that really did happen. So I'm not going to carry animosity about this anymore because it didn't happen. I'm not going to have to check for this because this is the new story that I'm in a reality where that didn't happen. So it doesn't matter, right? You want to really look at it like that. Like if you're recreating a person, you don't want to be like, okay, revise it, let's watch their behavior and see what happens. It's almost like that's how they are now, because they've never been this way, or they've always been nice, they've never been mean, so of course they're going to show up nicely. Like you're almost like you're fully assuming that you're in that reality now because you revise it, if that makes sense. So I hope this helps you. But I use revision as needed, and it's honestly one of the craziest ones to me because it just blows my mind every time, and it really is, it's really like shown me proof that the way we perceive reality isn't how it really is.
To do if you just don't get your manifestation. Like you've been doing all the techniques, you've been doing it, but it just doesn't happen. I've been getting this comment like so much recently of people ask me like, well, what do I do if I do revision but it like doesn't happen? What do I do if I did the visualization or I did my affirmations but I don't get it? Here's the thing, in my opinion, there is no such thing as you not getting your manifestation. Like that's not how this works. And I know it might take a little bit of time for you to wrap your brain around it, because I definitely, like for me, it was definitely like hard for me to understand, because I'd be like, well, I did it and it's not here. Especially when I was like in the process of manifesting Mike, because I was still learning at that time. I was like, but it's not here. So like, I don't get it. Like I did the technique and he's not here. And now that I understand there's no such thing as I didn't get my manifestation. Everything is now. Everything is just now. The past doesn't exist anymore. It's completely gone. When I started this video, completely gone. The future is not created yet. We only have the present moment. So that really means like the only thing that exists is now. Really the only reality is in here, because it's created in here first and then it's pushed out into your 3D reality. It's a projection of you. So we're taught kind of opposite. I know we're really taught to like look at our 3D and be like, oh, this is what's real, and now I have to react to it, and that creates my internal state. That's not how it's working. You've created an internal state by who you're being, by your belief system, who you believe you are. Then it's projected out into your reality, and your reality is always proving you right. It's always proving you true. What most people do is react to that and create this endless loop, right? So really there's no such thing as it's not here. I don't have it. That's just not that. Like I know for a fact, because I've seen this time and time again, and I'm not like hating on anyone who's struggling with this, because it took me, like I said, a long time to get this as well. Like if I just know if I keep returning to a state and I'm like, no, this is what's mine. This is mine. This is who I am. I'm someone who has this. It just eventually is going to get projected out into my 3D. So like if something doesn't happen in front of me right that second, I'm not like, oh my God, and now I don't have it. And that I used to do this all the time, but not now. I'm like, no, this is what's happening. This is what's happening. And I honestly don't really care much about what's happening in my 3D. Like I do to an extent, because I obviously otherwise I wouldn't ever get like triggered by stuff, or I wouldn't get upset about things, which happens every so often for me too. Like it does to everyone else, because you have the ego thinking mind, it happens sometimes. But like I just don't really care in the sense that like that's not what's defining to me. It's like, oh, if it's not in my reality, it's not happening. Like to me, I'm like, no, like I know, even if like someone is telling me the exact opposite, like just complete opposite of what I'm manifesting in my face, I know I can still manifest my way out of it, because I know if I keep persisting like, no, it's this way, that's what it is. So for me, it's just very much like there's a reason that people tell you to persist until it hards into fact, because it really is just like if someone tells you the opposite, or like if the opposite's happening or it's not in front of you, that doesn't really mean anything other than there was a dominant assumption that you don't have it, or there's a dominant focus that I don't have it. And as soon as you switch your focus to like, no, I have it, this is mine, it doesn't matter. Like, but the whole point here is you got to retrain your brain to think like, I'm commanding the 3D, I'm telling the 3D what to do, rather than the 3D telling me what to do. That's how most of us are taught. That's what most of us are taught to believe. And so that's the biggest, I think, mindset shift there is to overcome, is like to understand, like I'm telling the 3D what to do, not the other way around. Once you get that, oh my God, you're unstoppable. You're unstoppable, I'm telling you. If you're really stuck in that loop of like, oh my God, I don't have it now, and now, oh my God, it's still not here, and now it just isn't working, did I do enough? Like I would take a step back and be like, no, I'm telling the 3D what to do, not the other way around, and watch that shit unfold so fast.
So a lot of people don't fully understand revision in manifesting, and they make it out to be like it's some big thing when it's really not. If you aren't aware of what revision is, it's a manifestation technique that Neville Goddard talks about a lot. And it basically involves constructing a scene and, rewriting an event that already happened in physical 3D, but remembering it differently. But I want you to realize you're probably doing revision more often than you think. It's not something where you have to, sit down and do this like ritualistic scene. You can just simply have a flash of remembering something going differently, right? Or affirm that an outcome went in your favor. So a good example is if you were in an argument or something, or you said something maybe you felt you shouldn't have, right? Revision can be as simple as once you decide, okay, I don't like that outcome, just telling yourself, no, the conversation went amazing, right? We just talked as normal and we caught up, and that was that. Or telling yourself they weren't offended by what you said, right? You guys, it actually made your relationship stronger, and they completely forgot about it and moved on. I've done this unintentionally in college with grades, right? Where maybe I didn't get a grade that I wanted, and I just told myself, no, it's going to be an A, right? I don't have to worry about that. It's an A. And then what usually ended up happening is at the end of the year, the professor would apply a curve, right? So it would suddenly, if you have like a C or something or B minus, it would get curved to an A. That's all that revision is, right? It can be a simple affirmation. It's literally just an assumption that whatever transpired actually happened in the way that you prefer it to be. And then what happens is your reality will conform in whatever way to make that manifestation true. It's essentially manifesting, but backwards. That's how I think about it, right? The event has already transpired. You're just changing the outcome to what you prefer.
I changed my past by using revision by Neville Goddard, and this is exactly what I did. Revision to me is just a fancy word for inner child work. Sorry. However, I do like the perspective on it, and that's why I feel it really blew up in the law of assumption community. Because like law of assumption, you can assume anything and it is done, rather than trying to achieve and raise your vibration like law of attraction. However, they are both the same thing, just different perceptions about it. Revision is the exact same thing that I use as inner child meditation, which is when you go back into your past and you change it and you make it into something that it completely wasn't. So let's say that when you was younger, you were scolded because you dropped a plate. Well, you would go back into your mind and you would actually reimagine that you never dropped the plate at all, and that's why you have a better relationship with your parents. And so I did that, and I ended up getting an apology from my mom, and one of my cousins completely forgot about the situation that I had revised simply by using inner child meditation. The real reason why this worked is because I wasn't intentionally trying to change my past, rather I was doing it to feel good about myself, to really heal and move and transmute my energy and validate what I was feeling. I was able to forgive and move through a lot of things that really happened to me when I was younger by changing them and completely forgiving the person who has wronged me. Yes, that person actually forgot. Revision is known for making people forget about the past or the role that they played in your past, but I solely use revision for nervous system regulation because it's so powerful.
So let's talk about revision when it comes to manifesting. So basically revision is just what it is. It's like editing your thoughts is how I would like to put it. Editing your thoughts. So if you want to change your self-concept, just be really aware. Listen, manifestation is all about thinking the thoughts that you think every day, all day, okay? Now, we all know that we think hella thousands of thoughts a day. But the ones that you're consciously aware of, you can at least do your best to edit them so that they can benefit you and not limit you. So for example, if you find yourself thinking like, oh, I'm so tired all the time, start saying, I have so much energy. Even if you don't have no energy, start saying, I have so much energy. I'm so energetic. I always have so much energy. Edit your thoughts, baby. If you find yourself saying like, oh, I just feel so unmotivated and so just not creative, edit your thoughts, baby. I am so creative. I'm so motivated all the time. I have so much creativity flowing out of me just like a river, baby. Revision. That's how you revise when manifesting.